aquí andamos ir en Europa, no, oiga, ya aquí andamos encargados, nomás para ver si va a estar con nosotros o no, pues le mandamos el mensaje que se acomode con nosotros o se acomode bien con ellos porque los vergazos van bien, aquí estamos en los bancos, para que sepa nomás.
The king of Mexico's deadliest cartel is gone, but the war isn't over. In fact, it's just begun. And someone or something is already trying to take his place. Imagine a man so feared that governments spent years trying to catch him. A man whose name struck terror into people on both sides of the border. That man was El Mencho, the leader of one of the most brutal criminal groups in Mexico, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG. For decades, he built power from the ground up, turning a gang into a massive empire known for drug trafficking, violence, and fear. El Mencho wasn't just another criminal boss. He was the face of a cartel that spread its influence across many parts of Mexico and beyond. Members respected him, feared him, and obeyed him. They knew that challenging him would likely mean death. His cartel's reach was wide, from controlling illegal drug routes to intimidating rivals and even attacking authorities. This deep grip made him one of the most wanted men by both Mexican and U.S. authorities. On February 22, 2026, after years of intense tracking and pressure from Mexican security forces and foreign partners, everything changed. El Mencho was finally killed during a military operation in the town of Tapalpa in the state of Jalisco. Soldiers surrounded him, guns were fired, and after a fierce battle, he died from his wounds. The world reacted quickly. People in Mexico saw celebrations mixed with fear. For many, his death was a moment of relief, like a giant had fallen. But for others, especially those who lived in the cartel's territory, it unleashed a wave of uncertainty. Would violence calm down? Or would things get worse? The answer would come soon. News of El Mencho's death didn't stay quiet. Almost instantly, violent scenes spread across large parts of Mexico. In 20 Mexican states, people reported roads blocked with burning cars, businesses attacked, and gun battles in towns and cities. It was a violent reaction, like the world of crime was shaking in anger and confusion. For ordinary people, families, business owners, young students, it was terrifying. Imagine walking to school or the market and seeing highways blocked or soldiers patrolling your town. The fear wasn't just about criminal groups fighting each other. It was about losing safety and peace in everyday life. Authorities struggled to keep control. Army troops were sent to many regions, trying to calm the unrest. But the crisis showed just how deeply the cartel's influence ran across communities. People who once lived quietly in their towns found themselves caught in clashes between rival forces. The Mexican government called it a turning point, a moment they hoped would weaken powerful crime groups. But others warned it could instead spark even more chaos. When one boss falls, they said, power vacuums open, and violent fights break out as others try to take their place. Before his death, El Mencho had been the absolute leader. But he also had a family, and some thought one day one of his relatives would take over. The most obvious candidate was his son, Ruben Oseguera Gonzalez, known as El Menchito. He once helped manage big parts of the cartel's drug operations. However, there was a major problem. El Menchito was already in jail in the United States, serving a life sentence for serious crimes. Being locked away meant he couldn't take control. His imprisonment had already broken the cartel's direct line of family succession, leaving a giant power hole at the top. The loss of El Mencho and the fact his son couldn't lead left many wondering, who would take over? Would the cartel shrink? Would rival groups move in? Or would someone else rise from inside? With the traditional succession interrupted, the future leadership of the CJNG is unclear. But experts watching the cartel have identified several possible successors, powerful figures who might try to take the top spot now that El Mencho is gone. One of the most talked about names is Juan Carlos Valencia Gonzalez, also called El-03 or El Pelon. He is El Mencho's stepson and has been described as one of the cartel's top commanders. Some officials say he was already acting like a second-in-command before El Mencho died. Then there are others who could rise up during this moment of uncertainty. Hugo Gonzalo Mendoza Gaitan El Sapo, a senior commander with field influence. Audias Flores Silva El Jardinero, known for running important parts of the cartel's operation. Ricardo Ruiz Velasco El Doblar, another experienced leader within the organization. These men are not part of El Mencho's immediate family, but they are powerful figures within CJNG structure. They have followers, controls territories, and know how the cartel works. In the weeks after El Mencho's death, authorities said they are watching these leaders as potential successors.
Somos Grupo Delta del Jefe 3, y nosotros nos deslindamos de la manta que pusieron los corrientes de los reyes en el poblado de Cotija, donde mencionan al general Ernesto Joaquín Geminiano Jiménez. Nosotros no pusimos esa manta, nosotros no mandamos ese mensaje, nosotros no atacamos. Elementos de Sedena, nuestra pelea no es con el gobierno, es contigo, Poncho la Quirigua, bicho de los reyes, maníaco y su bola de ratas, extorsionadores, cobardes, mata inocentes, como el general.
So what happens now? The future of the CJNG, and of parts of Mexico, depends on how these leaders respond. Some experts warn that without a clear, peaceful successor, the cartel could splinter into smaller groups. That means more fighting as rival commanders clash for control. Violent internal struggles could make life even more dangerous in many regions. Others say that whoever rises to power might continue pushing the cartel's activities with the same violence and ambition, simply under a new name. For families living in cartel-controlled areas, this is frightening. It could mean more fear, more uncertainty, more loss. The Mexican government hopes this moment weakens the CJNG's grip on power, but history shows that removing a boss doesn't always end a cartel's influence. Sometimes it makes the conflict worse before it gets better. What's certain is this: the death of El Mencho did not end the story, it changed the direction of it. And now, the world watches as new players step forward in a high-stakes battle for one of Mexico's most feared criminal empires. El Mencho is gone, but make no mistake, this story is far from over. The cartel he spent decades building didn't collapse the moment he died. If anything, his death may have made things more unpredictable, more dangerous, and harder to control. Power vacuums don't stay empty for long, and the men waiting to fill his seat are not newcomers. They are battle-hardened, ruthless, and ready. For the people living inside cartel territory, this isn't a headline. It's their life. Every blocked road, every gunshot in the night, every soldier patrolling their street. That's someone's reality right now. History has shown us time and time again, you can take down a kingpin, but you can't take down an empire with one bullet. The CJNG existed before El Mencho made it what it is, and it will exist after him, in some form, under someone's control. So the real story isn't that he's dead. The real story is what comes next. If you want to stay ahead of how this situation develops, and trust me, it will develop, make sure you're subscribed, because we'll be covering every major update as it happens. Drop a comment below and let us know. Do you think El Mencho's death will weaken the cartel, or just change who's running it? Until next time, stay informed, stay aware. See you in the next one.